Hey friends, Jamie here. If you stumbled upon this video and you were at one of the lowest points in your entire life, maybe you had some sort of financial setback, maybe you got laid off, maybe you had a divorce, maybe your life imploded for some medical reason, and you feel completely mentally stuck, you feel defeated, you're on emotional life support, you're on a constant drip of cortisol, you're living in a pure state of panic, you can't think clearly. I understand because that was me 10 years ago. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly step by step and year by year how I reversed that situation, how I put myself on a positive trajectory to the degree where I am now unbelievably happy. I have happiness in relationships. I'm financially prosperous and I have a great career. And believe it or not, going from pure destitution where I literally thought I might be homeless 10 years ago to now thinking I could actually maybe even retire a little bit early. So it was a phenomenal turnaround. And I want to tell you, if you're in this position, exactly how I did it, year by year, play by play. And I'm going to read my notes because I have this all typed up in the hopes that it does two things for you. One, gives you some hope that you can turn your life around, that you can reverse this because other people have done. And two, let you see behind the curtain about people who have turned this around, that who have righted their ship and did a complete 180 from the lowest point in their life to a positive point. And it is my sincerest hope that you can use some of this information. Maybe you can use parts of it to get your life back on track. Before age 43, I kind of did everything right by the book, right? I went to college. I had two loving parents who were married 63 years, and I went right to work right after college. And I started working ever since 17. And I was a good saver. But the problem was the money disappeared constantly. Even though with my job and I was doing a lot of freelancing on the side, I was probably making about 50 or 60,000 a year. So there should be at least something in the bank account. And there just never was. It was always check to check. And all this financial stress and pressure put a serious strain on my marriage. So divorce was pending. And this started this mental state I was in. It was almost like this hypnotic state, but a bad hypnotic state of constantly being terrified, constantly being in a state of panic. I thought we were going to be homeless, and we damn near were. My credit was destroyed. I had no clue how I was going to pay off all this debt. And I just basically had a nervous breakdown. I was mentally and emotionally paralyzed in a state of distress for about 3 years trying to live in this situation. So let's fast forward to the Great Reset. At this stage, I was about 43. So between 43 and 48, I had split from my ex-wife. And then my goal was to live extremely cheap. By some miracle, I found a mother-in-law unit in a nice neighborhood for about $1,300 a month. I continued to drive my $2,500 eggplant purple Buick LeSabre. I would only shop at the grocery outlet and the dollar store. And one of the big things I did during this reset period was I reversed the negative thinking. I would wake up in the morning, I would say, how could you be so stupid? How could you have let this happen? How could you be such a failure? And that would just go on and on and on, like on repeat for like 2 years. And finally, I was like, I've got to fix this. So I would go for these long, long, long walks. And I was like, how do I reverse this negative messaging? Well, I started listening to on YouTube guys like Tony Robbins and Les Brown and Zig Ziglar and Brene Brown. And I just had all these positive messages in my mind all day long. And it worked. Massive action yields massive results. And I knew that just ruminating about how bad my life was for all this time wasn't going to change a damn thing. I needed actual physical, tangible movement towards the positive if this is going to change. So I started firing off resumes like crazy, and I got a decent job in about 2 weeks. So it worked. Massive action does take massive results. And that was kind of the crux of it. And I'm still riding the momentum from that one aha moment I had about 10 years ago. Now, I already had a bachelor's degree, but that was like 20 years ago. And this decent job I had, they were going to pay for about $5,000 a year towards education. And I used it to go get a master's degree. But I didn't just get any master's degree. I thought, what do I have a background for? What's in high demand and what pays really good? And for me, that was UX design, which is part of the tech world. Now, as you can imagine, there's a tremendous amount of hard work involved behind the scenes. I had to write an acceptance letter. I had to get the degree while I was still working. I mean, and that was freaking hard, but it's possible, okay? And the master's degree wasn't quite as hard as I thought it was going to be. So don't let that intimidate you. If you were in the situation, just go do it, okay? And not only that, I wasn't even done with the degree when I got scouted out and I got hired and I doubled my pay. So this strategy really works. Now, finally, I'm in control of my finances. I'm single. I can make an Excel spreadsheet and track every little thing I do. And I was making some decent money. So I was like, okay, I've got some surplus money, which is a freaking miracle. But I started teaching myself investing. I thought if I'm going to drink from a fire hose for positive thinking with Tony Robbins and all these guys, why don't I do the same thing? Teaching myself how to grow my nest egg to this huge amount. So I never, ever, ever have to experience this pain again. And that's what I did. So I just got on YouTube and went to Audible and I listened to books like The Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I mean, every single thing there was, probably 20, 30 different books. And I was like, okay. So things took off really quickly from that. I saved up my first $100,000. So can you believe that, being absolutely destitute for so many years? Once you finally get the right pieces in play, like the right degree in the right industry, making the right salary, and then knowing how to invest, things turn around very, very quickly. For the first time in my entire life, a lot of fear left my body. I had already done a good job of beating the fear down, at least to the point where I can make some decisions, but it was always kind of there because I didn't really have much of a financial buffer and I was single. And this first $100,000 milestone changed my life. But I didn't want to stop there. I finally had some momentum on my side and I just said, okay, you're up to 25 miles an hour. Let's get up to 100 miles an hour. So that's what I did. So the next phase I'm going to call the acceleration phase. So this was about age 48 to 54. And so this was 2017 to 2023. I worked my ass off at my job. I got a couple of promotions and I got to the point where I kept getting raises. Now, let me tell you, I paid my dues. Tech is a high anxiety job. Okay. Every day I had to use these techniques just to get myself ready for work to survive the day. But it was worth it because I now was making very good money and I maintained my extreme frugality. I kept my housing between $1,300 to $2,000 a month and I kept negotiating with my landlord to keep everything minimal. Okay. My food, remember, I already knew how to live pretty frugally, so that was never over $300 a month. Okay. Entertainment, zero. Subscriptions, zero. I don't need anything. Clothing, maybe $200 a year, right? Marshalls and Ross. Total annual expenses, I got it down to about $40,000 a year. That's pretty low for the Seattle area. Now, that meant I was able to save all my surplus money, which is a lot at this point, invested every single year. And I kept getting better and better and better at my investment strategy. So a couple things, reading my notes. I discovered that my 401k was in some super duper safe Target, Vanguard Target 235 or something like that. Great that it's safe, but it was only making about 5% a year. It was like in bonds. So I moved that to a more aggressive fund, which all I did is open up my 401k and see what my money is in. And that has now to date given about 14% per year, going back towards about 2018, because it's a lot of tech stocks and tech's done really good in the last decade. But I want to tell you the reality of this, even though the outcome was fantastic, but the grind is really difficult. Okay. So every Sunday night, I would go to bed terrified of starting work on Monday, right? The Sunday scaries, they call them. And then I had lots of sleep issues. So I would toss and I would turn. I would be even checking my work email at 11 at night to make sure I didn't miss anything. It took a major physical toll on me, on my body. I just was still overweight and blood pressure issues, etc., kept getting worse. And the way I would cope with it is every morning at 5:45 a.m. I would walk for almost 2 hours and I would do these affirmations. Sometimes I found them on YouTube. Sometimes I would read them with my own voice to my recorder and say things like, Jamie, you've got this. Today's just one day. Don't worry. They can't hurt you. You've been promoted. I mean, all these positive things just to get the stress purged out of my body so I could start my flipping day. Okay. My new tech job had therapy, so I took advantage of all that and just poured my heart out to this poor lady. And I just did that for about 8 years. And only in the past couple of years has it gotten really good. What's made it good? A couple parts, right? One, I managed to tame this crazy ass brain I had over all these years of effort, right? Affirmations, and then having positive evidence that I can do this. So finally, after all these years, I was able to not wake up terrified, not wake up with anxiety, but it was a lot of work. You got to put in the work. You got to fight the beast off doing what I did. Now, here's my current status. I've been at the same company now. That was my first start, getting on close to 10 years. And I just learned how to manage the stress. I learned how to deal with people, and I'll give you some tips how to survive in the tech world or any other high stress job. One, understand that they can't really hurt you. Okay. That you might get laid off, but that could happen at all times. But don't be so terrified of what someone says. You've got to be calm. They can't hurt you in a physical way. They can't kill you. They can't do damage to your body. If you've saved up any amount of time, money like I have at this point in your life, you'll be okay. You've just got to do everything in your power to fight the anxiety. Two, I'm just very kind and I'm nice and I get along with everybody. And I tell you, that has been the best thing for my career ever, because people want to work with people they like, people promote people who are pleasant and have leadership qualities. So now I've maintained my frugality. I've taught myself how to invest. I'm getting great returns with my money and it's just exploding. So, what a turnaround, right? Let me recap how I did this so you can hopefully follow in my same footprints. So, let's start from ground zero, right? Your life is just sucks. It's terrible. You're constantly in fear. You're constantly in panic mode. You have no money. You think you might be homeless. Okay. Step one, you have to snap your brain out of pure panic mode because you won't be able to make any intelligent decisions if you're just in fear. Do what I did. Find all the positive messaging you can. Typically, it's vocal, so find a bunch of YouTube videos, put them in your headphones, and listen to them all day long for a solid week until you have defeated that negative looping soundtrack in your mind, calling you a loser and beating you down. Two, you have to take massive action. Once you get your brain right, just go crazy. Go crazy earning money, side hustling, getting new jobs, investing in yourself, getting education, getting qualified. Push, 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 push. You've the train has got to leave the station, and that'll get you off the mat. And not only off the mat, your rocket ship will slowly start taking off in the right direction. Three, do what I did. Strategically increase your income. Okay. The way I increased my income was I took advantage of an opportunity to invest in myself to get a master's degree. I didn't even mention all the other certifications I did. I mean, I just went crazy getting certified in UX. I did every side course, I got every badge that anyone cared about on my LinkedIn, on my resume, and that is what it took. I got one in a job that was going to pay me really, really good. So do that. Step four, once you got money coming in, live incredibly frugal and teach yourself investing. You can teach yourself anything, my friends, anything. Okay. One of my pet peeves that people say is, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, why don't you know how to do that? You don't know how to do that because you didn't teach yourself how to do it. So I wasn't born as a baby knowing how to invest. I had to read books. I had to teach myself how to invest. I had to teach myself UX design. I had to teach myself everything. Teach yourself, be your own boss. Okay. But once you teach yourself investing in this case, and you have money coming in, finally you're going to get to a point of financial stability like me when I got to my first 100,000, where you can finally just relax a little bit and just take a deep breath and say, okay, thank God. Okay. And the next step, step five, just do the grind for a while and fight off the anxiety. Do all these techniques to fight off the anxiety. Do what I did in the morning. There's all kinds of books, therapy techniques just to beat off the tech world anxiety because you need that money. Okay. And then finally, step six, which is where I'm at today. Now I truly have FU money. Now I have complete peace and serenity because I really couldn't care less even if my job wants to lay me off, or I have a director say something snarky, or someone zings me on my performance review. Those things used to terrify me not that long ago, because we live in a world where you are terrified of being rejected by the system. It starts in grade school, where you're terrified of not completing the project, or getting a grade, or getting a low grade or low marks. I mean, our whole lives have been being terrified of criticism. Well, once you get to FU money, a lot of that just goes away, because you're like, I don't care. I'm good. Finally, at this point, you will have done the 10-year journey. Okay. You will have gone from the worst point you possibly could have, constant fear, constant panic, constant terror that you might be homeless or you're a loser, to the point where you're like, I've got shit handled. Okay. Whatever you do to me, I don't care, because I could live many, many years with what I have saved. You can't hurt me anymore. And finally, everything else came together. I've got a new partner who's just a wonderful, wonderful woman who I adore, but she wouldn't have fallen in love with the guy I was 10 years ago. No way. She needed to meet a person who was confident, who had their act together, who had their finances together, who was a source of stability for her. So she could lean on me when she needed to lean on someone else, not constantly be a pillar for me to lean on her. Okay. So you have to get all these things together, like I did, to bring in the other aspect, which is a healthy, stable, romantic partnership. And once you have all these things combined, you got this. You have clawed yourself out of the worst parts of your life, rock bottom, to the point where everything's working financially, romantically, and guess what else? I lost 50 pounds. And I'm healthier than I have been since I was 25, because all the cortisol has left my body. And like I said, teach yourself. I taught myself how to diet and exercise. Okay. And I make a routine every day. And that routine has kept me very fit. So for 55, I'm doing pretty good. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you're in a pit of despair right now, just doom scroll on YouTube and you accidentally came across this, please listen to it again and again. And I'm telling you, you can fix it. If I can fix it, you can fix it. And you're going to get out there and you're going to do what I did, or however you have to do it, and you're going to crush it. Good luck to you. I can give you some advice in the comments if it's helpful. And let's do this together. Thank you for listening. Jamie out. Like and subscribe if you like this video.